Welcome back to High School Football Weekly. I'm Frank Wolf of WNY Athletics. I'm joined by Dick Gallagher from WGRZ High School Sports. And right now we're going to get down into the Section 6 teams. Class AA, we'll start right there. And, Dick, there's no bigger game on the schedule right now than the one we have Friday night when Lancaster hosts Orchard Park, the 5-0 Orchard Park Quakers. And this is a game that I think a lot of us have been waiting for. I believe it's a Spectrum game. I got to believe Spectrum's doing it. Will you stay at home and watch, or are you going to go out to Klingfield?
It depends on how I feel, and it depends on what the weather's like. But I'm telling you, if the game's on television, you're there. You don't have to worry about the crowd. You don't have to worry about getting there or going to the snack stand. You have your own. But and then you're getting replays. So you're being able to see the game a little more than you normally would just watching it. But I play it by ear. The most I've ever seen in a week, which was 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, were in the 80s, and I saw 11 games. And not all full 11 games, but after that, I know that I slept.
Well, let's talk about this Orchard Park Lancaster game. It's obviously a huge game. Orchard Park's coming in with a ton of confidence, and they are playing very good football. There's no doubt about that. We looked at their schedule earlier in the year and some of the teams that they played, and maybe that record of 5-0 was a little misleading to some degree. I mean, you got Frontier and Lockport on there. I think they've got one combined win between them. Then you got Niagara Wheatfield, a non-league game, and they've been throttled the last few weeks. Bennett beat them 28-0. Didn't allow a single point to the Tiger team. But they've been becoming unglued for about the last 2 to 3 weeks. There's something going on there at Bennett that we just can't wrap our hand around because there's too much talent there for them to be struggling the way they have. And then Hutch Tech, they won 35-6, and I don't think Hutch Tech's won a game, or maybe they did win one game. They might have beat Frontier. So they've got, in my estimation, one quality win. Okay, and I'll probably get beat up for that, but they've got one quality win. That was Hutch Tech, but they passed that test with flying colors, 28-0. No team has beaten Bennett like that in a long time. So Orchard Park, should have our respect, and they do. But this is their first game that I'm going to get a chance to see them up close and personal, and just to see the work that Craig Dana has done with that program. I hear nothing but good things. I know Tom Prince has been out to a number of games. Mike Pedanek will be out there for WNY Athletics covering that game for us. And he said that this is going to be probably one of the best games of the year for the entire Western New York area. And I got to believe you feel the same way.
It should be. But when you take a look at Orchard Park, their strength is also in the trenches. And they've got 5 receivers that have caught touchdown passes. They've got 8 receivers that have caught passes. And if you take a look at Jack Sharp, he's lighting it up, I think, over 1,300 yards, 16 touchdowns or 20. And then you have a linebacker who can really control the defense and really keys the defense is Mike Pataki, who's also one of the outstanding wrestlers in Western New York. And if you take a look at their record and the amount of points that they're piling up, I think that they, particularly even though playing at Lancaster on grass, not turf, that the Quakers have to be favored in this game. Mainly, I just think that the line play, particularly with Matt Wagner, is been outstanding. But again, how many teams have they really played? One, Bennett, as far as being able to be competitive. Lancaster also outstanding talent. 2 linebackers, Matt Messenger, Connor Mahoney, that are just outstanding. And they're both 3-year starters. Jason Menzel, he's got around 900 yards rushing and passing. He's got about, I think, 12 touchdowns.
No interceptions.
Pardon?
I don't think he's thrown a pick either.
No, but the biggest difference to me right now on both teams, it's a passing league, and they've been passing, and Phillips is leading the running back for Lancaster, and I think Manicelli I think he's only a sophomore, but he's leading the way for the Quakers.
Belly.
But when you look at it, if the weather is good, you're going to see probably at minimum of 50 passes thrown.
Well, that's good. I like a nice passing game. I mentioned Orchard Park's record and who they've played, and maybe that record might be a little suspect. Even though they get that huge win over Bennett, but I look at Lancaster's record and the teams they've played. I mean, Hutch Tech 51-6 opening weekend, Niagara Falls 33-8, Lockport 57-12. Those are three teams that you would expect Lancaster to win big over. But they beat Bennett last week 27-22, and they had a big lead on Bennett. Bennett roared back. And Clarence, that overtime loss against Clarence. They were expected to go in and beat Clarence, and they didn't. So they've had a tough schedule. The tougher of the two schedules, I think you would say. Or that's what I'm going to say. But I am looking for this game to be one, like Tom Prince will always say, in the trenches. I think that's where you're going to see this game. That's where this game is going to be won or lost. But I like that Orchard Park defense. I think they get after the ball awful quick. Everything I've read and heard, this might be the team that Orchard Park's been waiting for quite some time.
Pataki's got, at least the stats that I've seen, has 18-20 tackles. If you look at Mahoney and Masner, they each have around 30 tackles each. It's nowhere near what Jake Skinner from Fredonia has. I think he has 53 tackles in 5 games. But I think it's two things. One, who wins the battle of the trenches and who avoids the turnovers, because that to me will be the difference in that game.
Then you talk about Jamestown for a second. They're right in the hunt. They're going to come up here and play Niagara Falls this Saturday, and we're going to see up close and personal Savon Van Sickle again, who was incredible last week against Lockport. I got to Jamestown last Friday with about 7 minutes to go in the first quarter. Don't tell Jehu that. I told him I was there for the first whole quarter of the Southwestern game. Sorry, Jehu. I had to leave early. But Jamestown was up 21-0 when I got there. When I left, I believe it was 35-0. It was a beating. And Savon Van Sickle and that freshman quarterback, Drake, unbelievable. And he's got some receivers there. They've got more weapons in Jamestown. Name's escaping me. But they've got more weapons there. I mean, other than Drake
Rojas
and Rojas, yes, had a nice touchdown when I was there. I left before the end of the first quarter. It was like 35-0. I mean, I was there. I got there with 7 minutes left. Like, I got to go to Dunkirk. Let me go check out that Dunkirk-Maryvale game. Let me get up there. I thought I was going to stay for at least a full half, but it was a beating. And it's, I can't stay down there for that one. Lockport wasn't coming back. I felt bad. But Jamestown, Niagara Falls this Saturday is interesting. We talk about that trip. That's a 2-hour ride for Jamestown. A lot can be lost on that bus ride. Going either way. We saw it happen last year with Niagara Wheatfield, going all the way down there 5-0, only to lose that game. And pretty much that was the downfall of Niagara Wheatfield last year, that game there. Could this be the game that decides who gets home field advantage or who gets a home playoff game for AA? Jamestown needs that win. Now let's say Bennett, they get a rematch with them, and Bennett has to go all the way down there and take that 2-hour drive. And Jamestown knows they can play with them. We've heard about incidents on the Bennett bus just sitting out in the parking lot at Orchard Park. Can you imagine those kids on a bus for 2 hours down to Jamestown?
It's been.
I don't want to imagine that.
It's been like that for decades.
I understand.
And Jamestown has to come up here 5 or 6 times in the course of a season, if not more. They got to spend the 2 hours. And people then complain when they have to go to Jamestown and travel the 2 hours. It is a game. You know how to play the game. A bus ride should not indicate any problems whatsoever, as if you have a good game plan, if you've got the talent, if you've got the practices in. And so I think Jamestown, the way that they're playing and getting better every game, there can be a force in the AA playoffs.
I agree with you. And that's why I'm saying if they know they have to win this game against Niagara Falls. And I think they get a playoff game home date if they win Saturday. Jamestown does have Orchard Park, though. They close out with Orchard Park, and that's a home game for them. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. I might have to go down there for that. Game.
One thing, Jamestown does not play Lancaster this year in the regular season.
No.
So, and that's huge. But, when you draw up the teams, and all of a sudden you're not having to play Jamestown, or Jamestown not having to play Lancaster, there's a smile on the coaches' faces because you're going to be playing them in the playoffs.
Niagara Falls, we're not sure what to make of that team just yet. They're 4-1. They just beat a team called Penfield from Section 5, and just to tell Penfield loses. You want to say it, or do you want me to say it?
Loses to one of our D schools. I don't know how that game got scheduled.
They just barely beat St. Mary's of Lancaster 13-10 a week ago, and they're playing them again this week. So let me say that again. Penfield is so good they're playing St. Mary's of Lancaster twice. That's who Niagara Falls just beat, and they beat them bad. They beat them 38-7. So and they lost to Lancaster 33-8. They scored a touchdown late in that game, so they played against the backup. So I don't know how good Niagara Falls is. They beat Hutch Tech. They beat Lockport in a close one, 26-20. I think they were losing in that game, actually. I think they scored a late fourth quarter touchdown there. And then they beat Frontier at home last week, 43-19, and then the Penfield game we talked about. So I don't know how good Niagara Falls is. They do have some players there, no doubt about it, but we're going to find out how good they are this week when they play Jamestown, and we'll see how good they are. And if they lose, then they don't get a playoff game. They'll only get in the playoffs. 8 teams make it, but
the one thing with Tom Langworthy is he'll have his team ready to play, and they'll understand who they're playing, even though that other teams might have dominated the Wolverines. But I look, Jamestown is in a good run right now. They should be able to handle the Wolverines. I'm looking to be at that game, and we'll just see how they play out.
Jamestown's playing their best football at the right time of the season. That's important. We're going to be back in just a few moments. We'll be back to talk about the Class A's and B's.